Welcome to Tanya Today. I'm Rabbi Ronnie Fine, coming to you from Chabad Zichron Kedoshim in Montreal, Canada, where it's a privilege and a pleasure to share with you the Tanya. We welcome, as we do daily, John from North Carolina. Wow, amazing. I see everybody is here every day. Very inspired by that. Robert, shalom to you in Boston, and Simcha is in Florida with us. Diane in Arizona, Andrea in Phoenix, Fernando in Rio de Janeiro in Brazil, shalom. June, where it's a good night for everyone in Australia, Eugenia. In Florida, preparing to go back to Calgary, to snow country. Yeah, as Canada is, but Calgary in particular. Liba and Davida in New York, good morning. Annie is with us in Costa Rica. Tim in Texas, welcome. Sandy in Michigan. Clem in Australia also is with us. Harold in Portland, Oregon, welcome. Who else? Zara in Malaysia. North Carolina, Lori is with us, shalom. Javier in Barranquilla. Hope I pronounce that. The angel. Leah in Florida, welcome. And William is with us in South Korea. Greetings. David in California. Irma is in New Jersey. Ahuva in Seattle, I would imagine, unless you're visiting somewhere. In Norway, Christine is with us. David in Toronto. Mark, welcome. Rogue in Saratoga, New York, welcome. Karen in Canada, fellow Canadian. Okay. Annette in the Bronx, welcome. Zigzag. Okay. Can only be a Canadian, Zigzag. Clubhouse, we have Vilma Baccia, Eliana, Luz, Tim, Margot, Vicky, Yuda, David. Instagram, we have Yenta Televenta, Mustafa. Who else we have? Amanda, Lucas, Acoy in Peru, Benita, I'm not sure I got that right, Marlene, Lizzie, I hope I got that right. Okay. We begin chapter 14. Of course, a continuation, previous chapters, about the Beinoni. This chapter, in one word, midas, the measure, or the rank. Well, we'll get into it. We spoke about in the previous chapter about 3 different levels of a Beinoni. Now, in this chapter, the Alter Rebbe says that the midas, a Beinoni, the rank and measure, shall we say, of the Beinoni. So to speak, the bottom line, in other words. What's the bottom line here? What's the bottom line? So first of all, he says that it's attainable for every person. Each person should strive. Not to think that it's beyond our reach. That every person, at any time or hour, could be a Beinoni. Why? Because a Beinoni doesn't have control over their heart. So the urges of the heart are still there. Right? Doesn't hate negativity with in a complete manner. Doesn't hate worldly pleasure as an end in itself rather than to serve a higher purpose. Doesn't hate it entirely in feelings as opposed to intellectual understanding. Why not? Because these are the things that are not in the Beinoni's control. That's something the righteous have control over, as we've learned. But to conquer the heart and the urges of the heart is not in the domain of the Beinoni. At least, not at all times. Okay, so then what's the bottom line of the Beinoni? Bottom line of the Beinoni is Sumeira v'asei toiv, turning away from negativity, from evil, from klipa, the negative side, and do good in actual practice, meaning in action, in our deeds, in our communication, our speech, and in thoughts, meditated, cogitated, willful thought. Right. And every person is, the Alter Rebbe says, is given the choice, the ability, and the freedom to act, speak, and think contrary to even their heart's desire, to do diametrically opposed to what our heart feels. For even if the heart craves and desires material pleasure as an end in itself, even when it's permitted. In other words, seeking self-gratification instead of divine gratification, right? So that's the heart's desire, can go diametrically opposed to that and not give in to that craving. How does Beinoni do this? So Alter Rebbe brings out a conversation the Beinoni has, that they have with themselves. What's the conversation? Sort of like, what's the bottom line in this conversation? The Beinoni says, I don't want to be a Russia even for a moment. I don't want to be negative, wicked, evil, or get my vitality from klipa, not even for a single solitary moment. Because in that moment, that means I'm parted from God. I'm disconnected from myself, from my true self. I don't want that, because iniquities do separate us. That's on the negative side, the sumera, to turning away from negativity, from sin or evil. And on the positive side, I desire to unite my nefesh, ruach, and neshama, my soul, with God. How? By investing my three garments of self-expression, thought, speech, and action, in dedicating myself to God completely through study of Torah, as we're doing now, for example, and doing a mitzvah, His commandments. Right? I want to unite and be bound up with Him. I don't want to be disconnected. And that is the love that's hidden in my heart, even though I might have urges in my heart, au contraire, but no, not going to let them have any kind of self-expression. And he continues in the conversation. The Beinoni continues in the conversation in their head. That even the Kal Shebekalim, which is sort of like the most simple and simpleton of a Jew, someone who's removed, not the most worthy person, let us say, right? That person's even, or which we'll learn later in chapters 18 and 19, are capable of giving up their lives to sanctify God's name and not to deny Him by serving some other form of idolatry, as we've seen in the last 2,000 years, right? That so many have died by the sword and not accept another faith. So surely I am not inferior to this person that Beinoni is thinking to themselves, right? In other words, they're ready to sacrifice, so I shouldn't sacrifice to do for God. If they're ready to sacrifice their lives, and how come they're called Kal Shebekalim, a simpleton, someone who's not so worthy, not so involved in their divine connection or their relationship with God and Torah and mitzvahs and their Judaism. So in the conversation, the Beinoni saying to themselves is that, well, the only reason is because the spirit of folly overcomes them, and they think that, to accept another religion, that's really cutting yourself off from God. But to do a sin in the moment, like say something not nice, nasty, or to think negative in your mind, or to do something that's not appropriate, doesn't cut yourself off from God in the moment. That's a foolishness, because it does. I'm not a fool like that. That I understand that in the moment that I do that which is not appropriate, that God doesn't want me to do, that is of negativity, we cut ourselves off. Okay, let's unpack this powerful idea over here. So the first point I gotta make clear to myself and to all of us, the Alter Rebbe believes in me more than I believe in myself. He believes that I could be a Beinani. Now, I believe I could be a BIT, Beinani in training, but I'm going to be a Beinani. So Alter Rebbe believes, yes, I could. And we all could. We all could. And why? Because it's only about your behavior, and your behavior you can have complete mastery over. Absolutely. That's, first of all, extremely powerful. Because the Alter Rebbe is able to see the power of our neshama, of our soul, and the capability of our willingness that we have, the choice, the ability, and the freedom to be this. I believe it, but to what extent? The Alter Rebbe, through and through, that we could be that. And therefore, that's why he's guiding us over here in the teachings. That's like powerful. Second important point over here is, so what's this bottom line of the Beinani? And this is the idea of what it means to live in the moment. And we can live in the moment. Living in the moment is not the way the world sees it. The world sees living in the moment as that take it all in the moment. Breathe the air, look and see the beauty around you. Appreciate, have the pleasure of the beauty around you, the greatness and the potential that you have in that moment. Here the Alter Rebbe is saying, live in the moment. This moment is about connecting or disconnecting from God. So it's not about taking it. It's about what you're giving in this moment. What are you giving in this moment? That I have an opportunity, I have the capability, I have the choice and the ability and the freedom to connect or, God forbid, choose to disconnect from God. That is living in the moment. And if we can incorporate in our lives daily a little more of this notion that when it comes that negative thought comes to me and I'm thinking to myself, is this connecting me or disconnecting me from God? Or I'm ready to say something and it may not be the nicest thing. Is this connecting me or disconnecting me from the Almighty? And likewise in action. The fact that we will think that gives us the capability to overcome and do the exact opposite of what that urge in the heart might be in that moment. And that's living in the moment. So different than the world. The world is, again, it's about self-gratification. So get self-gratification, live in the moment, see how great this moment it is and what it's doing for you, right? That it's making your moment so rich. Wonderful. Really not Jewish, right? And that's why we say, without Judaism, without Torah teachings, everybody's living in klipa. I might not, it's not Attila the Hun klipa, but it's all about self-gratification. Wonderful, even to recognize God in the moment. It's all about me. But it's not about what I'm here to do. It's what I'm here to take. Alter Rebbe is saying no. Live in the moment. Think about this moment. Is this connecting me or disconnecting me? I know that, this idea, to live with it, it's a game changer. It's a game changer. And, even if we add it one time a day more than we've ever added, or, whatever the case may be, it's a game changer that will make our lives very different as a result. And that's what the conversation is. I don't want to be a Rasha, even for a single moment. I don't want to be disconnected for a single moment. Not only that, I want to be only connected every moment. To be united in one with God. And then further thinking, hey, I could do this. Because if the Kal Shebekalim is able to do it, this one who's removed from Judaism and from God and is only ready to sacrifice their life at a time of, choosing God or accepting another faith, religion, or whatever, they have the power. Well, I have the power at all times to do it. And we do. That's what the Alter Rebbe believes in us. And we're capable of it. And again, just introduce us a little bit into your lives. It's going to be a game changer. All right. Questions, comments, thoughts on this? I'm looking on Facebook and I do not see. Oh, it was freezing? Well, it is kind of cold here, but, computer shouldn't freeze. I hope that wasn't the problem there. Reminder, put 2 question marks before you ask a question. Oh, zigzag from Montreal. God always there waiting for you to come back. Yes. Lori, there is a voice in my head that tells me, despite learning Torah and loving Hashem, I'll never be capable. This point is very powerful. Serving God is the only way to be free and not to be a slave to my whims. Yes. And again, Lori, thank you for being so honest and forthright. Appreciate that. Again, this notion of add this one more time in your day, how much that's going to be very powerful. How much that's going to, it could be that one thing in the day that, was really crucial and be, just take the, that moment, the breath, and then you connect to disconnect. 2 words, connect, disconnect. What's going on? What this that I'm thinking, is it connecting me to God or disconnect? And if we failed one moment, the next moment we could succeed. We didn't think that way, but the next time something comes up, we can. Reminder, tonight, 9 p.m., I will be with Rabbi Mayanus Friedman on YouTube and Instagram. Fabring in. Vicky, any idea how to pause that moment to ask about the connection or not? we shoot from the hip very quickly, and we don't respond, but we react. So I guess it's just that mindfulness is, you know, just be mindful that you need to say to yourself, connect or disconnect. Give yourself that moment, um, and um, and if you're like really riled up and you say the words disconnect and disconnect, just know that that's a sign for you that, you know what, let me not, let me just walk away from, say to the other person perhaps, you know what, I gotta think this through. I'll get back to you. I can't respond right now. So, that might be a way when it comes to dealing with another person. Yeah, duct tape on the mouth. Or Isaiah says, if we first don't succeed, try and try again. Absolutely. Beautiful. Any questions on Instagram? Did I miss something on Instagram? Yeah, this, again, add this to your life. Your life is a different life. All right. Clubhouse, anybody? To share, to add.
Rabbi?
Go ahead, Vilma.
It's really early in the morning here, but these are my observations. It is a choice, and the more I practiced this, the easier it gets. To think and to cogitate is our human ability that can surpass that animal instinct. And you're right, it does get easier over time where I don't feel that urge to retort or to react like an animal in the moment. Like I don't feel that urge.
Right. Excellent. Yeah. So, like you say, it's a practice that we have, a skill that we have to hone. It's a skill that we have. It's inside of us. We're capable, and the more we practice it, the more will be capable. And then it comes to a point, like Vilma said, you don't even feel the need to be reactionary, whereas you can, take it in and respond appropriately. Very good. Ahuva says, a good question, very good question. Sometimes it isn't clear what's right to do in the moment. What would you advise to do in those moments? So that's a secondary point. The first point is, and think about it, when you're heated up or you're upset or you're whatever, negative vibes inside that are going to come to your thought, to your speech, and to your actions, the very fact that you are saying to yourself, is this connecting me or disconnecting me, is already going contrary to your temperament in the moment, or your feelings in the moment. Because when you have strong feelings towards something, you're not thinking, is this disconnecting me from God? You're just thinking about fulfillment of your desire, whatever those feelings might be that you want your desire to be fulfilled, right? So the fact that you're questioning that itself is remarkable. Now, you're right, not always do you know, is this connecting me or disconnecting me? So that's, first of all, we have to learn Torah. That's what we're learning Tanya. That gives us the opportunity to appreciate. One simple way to know, in a simple way, is reduce it to, what is this coming from a bad place? Is this coming from a negativity? Is it coming from my animal soul, my a negative from a negative place? And that we could be honest with ourselves, and we could be open with ourselves. And remember, this is to ourselves. We're not even being vulnerable to someone else. So I think we're talking about going contrary to the feelings of your heart. I'm not even talking about what the response is. that the fact that you have an urge in your heart that someone said something nasty to you and you want to retort in a, tit for tat, but I'm just giving this by way of example. Well, you know that that's not coming from the right place, so that's not the right thing to do. So what we're talking about here is not, it's not like, okay, how should I resolve this? That's a later stage. How do I deal with this? Where the first stage is not how to deal with it. The first stage is, how is it in with me? Where am I coming from? Is this what I want to do in thought, speech, and action? In my behavior, is this connecting or disconnecting me from God? Well, for the most part, I think we could know where that feeling is coming from. If it's a negative one or a positive one. Is it something that God wants or doesn't want? I don't think there'll be too many instances that we will have a difficulty. Where we'll have the difficulty is in the next step. Okay, how do I deal with this now? How do I respond in the right way? We're not talking about the response over here. No. Is this connecting me or disconnecting me? That's the first thing. So where's this coming from? That's why we learned about the animal soul, so we can know the nature of the animal soul, and we can know what, the way it works, so we can know, is this my instinct speaking within me, my negative, animal soul that is of klipa. So I think for the most part, we will be able to be aware of that. Again, I think what you're saying about the right thing to do, again, I don't think there's too often you'll have an issue. Does that make sense, Uva? I hope that resonates with you, helps you. Hit the pause button, exactly. Yeah. And sometimes you don't know, so ask Hashem for help. Um, Count until 10, switch gears, right? Very good. Yeah, many different kind of tricks. We can use duct tape, put duct tape on your mouth when you're ready to, right? Oh, Michael, happy birthday. Yesterday was his birthday. May Hashem grant you a year of success and blessings. Gesundheit, Freiligkeit. Okay, thank you. Reminder Rambam today at 1 o'clock. Davida, when we choose any action to disconnect, is it our Yetzer Hara or is it coming from an innate place? It's coming from our Yetzer Hara. Are we destined to choose the wrong actions? Are we destined to choose? We have the freedom to choose. Sometimes we don't act with that freedom and we lose our freedom. But we do have the choice. We do have the freedom. After the fact, that's a different story, but I'll leave that for now. Okay, anybody else on Clubhouse? Folks, we got to build this Tanya class. I see every day how those that are coming here every day, how this is enhancing your lives. There's no reason why there should be hundreds of people instead of 100 people, coming to learn at this moment. And I ask you to inspire one person. Inspire just one person to at least try the class. Take that upon yourself. Inspire one person to come join us to learn Tanya. Imagine. You might save a life. You will for sure enhance a life. And you may have someone who will be forever grateful because of what you have done for them. So, strongly. Reminders that tonight, 9 o'clock, I will be together with Rabbi Manis Friedman. Probably, he's got 175,000 followers on YouTube. I will be on YouTube Live and Instagram Live. So please do come and join us. Denise, if someone around you provokes a negative response, is it okay to not continue that relationship, even if it's family? That's already Tanya therapy. It's hard to answer that. It's possible. It depends what, depends, it's weather depending. So I can't give a blanket statement there. All right, my Rabbi Ronnie Fine coming to you from Chabad Zichron Kadeshim in Montreal, Canada. It's a privilege and a pleasure to share with you the Tanya. Have a wonderful day. Be well.